Cup of Joe with Grandpa Dez. Hey, Stevie, how you doing?
Good, Paul. How are you?
Not bad. Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a
Long,
little, been too long, in fact.
I know. Long time no speak. Even. I mean, we DM all the time, but I don't even. Probably the last time we spoke was the last time we saw each other. I would think. Oh
Yeah,
no, you know what? Maybe we did a podcast.
shut up. I'm sure we've done a few with Peter between then and then.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. In fact, you were like one of the. You would have me on your podcast before I was even doing this. So in a way, I kind of, owe you a little bit or blame you, whichever how you ever want to look at it.
Blame is not the opposite word there.
You know what? I forgot to tell you. The gimmick is we're supposed to be like having a coffee or drink or whatever together. So I got Diet Coke.
I
What do you
got
got?
water.
Water?
That's good enough.
Yeah, that's fine. I got that too.
hmm
That's my backup.
Sorry,
I
I don't have
always
Kimmy's. I can't roll up the rim right now.
no. Oh, that we're right in the middle of that right now.
I know, right?
Did you see my thing yesterday where I got free coffee for a week?
I missed it, but I'm glad.
Yeah. So we have this thing where you pick an NHL. So they give you a list of players, 3 lists. You pick one player from each list, and if any player that you pick scores a goal, you get points, and they're reward points. 70 reward points gets you a free coffee. So if you pick one player right, I think it's 10 points. If you get 2 right, it's 20, and if you get 3, it's 50. And then if you get 7 days in a row where you get at least one correct, you win free coffee for a week. So yeah, I got that 3 times already this year. And it's free to play. Like, I don't know why more people don't do it. And then right now we're doing the roll up the rim.
Informational. They find out, and now they're going to do it.
Well, hey, yeah. And then we got the roll up the rim now too, which is virtual, but every order and every guaranteed to win a prize every time. So it's usually just points, 5 points, 10 points, whatever. Sometimes you get a free coffee. There's trips. It's like the McDonald's thing, like where, yeah, somebody's winning a trip, but it ain't me.
There was a big scam with the McDonald's one a few years back, right?
Yep. Wasn't there like a Netflix show or something about that too?
Yeah, they actually made a movie out of it, out of the
Yeah.
whole debacle of the guy stealing the winning prizes and
Yeah.
with friends, and they would pay him back like out of selling the prizes. So it was quite a racket.
I was gonna see. I thought maybe I had my McDonald's board here, but I think I finally threw it away. So just before we started recording, I guess the news broke. We're both wrestling guys. Cody Rhodes is going to WWE. It looks like almost officially.
Yeah, according to PW Insider, he signed like 10 to 14 days ago, which
that sounds about right.
It confirms everything that they've been doing on television with Seth saying, "I don't have a match for WrestleMania," and Kevin Owens challenged him for that, or vice versa. Rollins challenged Owens for that spot, and then Owens retained his spot at WrestleMania. So Seth doesn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Cody is the plan.
And I think it even ties into Edge's promo when he was, they were probably negotiating at that point. So I think they were leaving the option open that in case they wanted to do Edge, because he said something about undeniable or something. And
right.
I think Miz even referenced Cody at some point on that show.
He said his special partner at WrestleMania was going to be somebody handsome, dashing.
Yeah, dashing. Coming from a famous fighting family, and yeah. So yeah, no, you know what? I'm kind of I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's so funny because you've got your pro AEW, you got your pro WWE, and like the website I do podcasts for, and this is independent, but the one I do, that I get paid to do stuff for, everybody in there is like just an AEW mark. So like we've got a private Slack chat, and they're already poo-pooing Cody's WWE run, like, he's on the Miz TV and he's in the mid card and he's chasing after the 24/7 title. It's like, he hasn't even debuted yet, dude.
Yeah, like give him a chance, see what he do before you decide it doesn't work.
In my fantasy, and I don't think it's gonna happen, but I would love to have seen Vince give him NXT. And just, like, he was part of the other side that won the war. So yeah, he can take over my side now, take the Triple H role. Like, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see it.
Use a Triple H role on that show right now, because it's gone downhill ever since you left.
It's gotten better the last couple, I'd say in the last month,
With
but
Push a Braun Breaker, it's turned the corner a little
yeah.
bit, but not all the way. It's not back to where it was.
No, but you know what? It's about where it was, I would say, in about 2014, like when they started doing, Arrival and that. Like, I actually just watched the first Arrival special, and this, like the one they just did, was very similar to that. You had you didn't have the 5 great matches that you would get on like the classic takeovers. It was usually like maybe 2, and the women's matches were not great. You're getting like, Emma against, I don't even remember who she was feuding, like Paige or something,
Yeah.
and and then you like Tyler Breeze, and Baron Corbin, like they weren't all Adam Cole and Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish, like there was some, I mean, not bad, but not great.
Right.
So, yeah. So you're in Omaha, for people that don't know, right? Or is it just outside Omaha?
No, in Omaha proper, right?
Okay, cool.
Smack dab in the middle, basically.
So I'm going to be coming through there in a couple weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah, I may even, depending on how things go, I may even be staying there for a night. So if we end up staying there, maybe I'll give you a shout, and we can, grab a coffee together or something.
With the weather enough, we could even fire up the grill and do a little barbecue.
Hey, maybe. Yeah, depending. Like, so we're going to WrestleMania, and so we're driving. We're leaving here on the 30th, and I'm hoping to make it there on the first day. We might. Like, it's about a 9-hour drive from Winnipeg. So if we get there, we do. If we don't, we'll stop somewhere on the way. The reason I'm hoping to get there is because I can probably get a free hotel room at one of the affiliated casinos, in and around that area. Like Council Bluffs, or is it Council Bluffs that has all the casinos?
Right across the river is Council
Yeah.
Bluffs, or
Yeah.
people
So
Council Tucky, because it's a little seedy at times, but the casinos are nice. They've got some really good entertainment and buffets and things.
yep.
Concert series that happens, and it's a good time.
We so the last time we went to Dallas was just before the pandemic, and we went through and we stayed. I can't remember which casino it was. I think it was a Caesars property. So whatever the Caesars property is there. But and I got a discount. I didn't get a free room, but and that it was Super Bowl Sunday, because I watched the Super Bowl in the casino.
Oh,
Because
nice.
yeah, my wife's, it was the year it was Kansas City and the 49ers, I think. Is that right? Was that 2020?
I think so. If it's
Yeah.
the Chiefs one, yeah.
Yeah, and then everybody there was Kansas City fans, obviously, because it's pretty
There's a
close.
huge contingent of Chiefs fans around here, which
Yeah.
is weird for me because I'm a Chicago Bears fan. But
Yeah. Well, you kind of look like one of the guys from the Bears, from the old SNL skit.
this course, these super fan, yeah, the Bears.
There you go. There you go. So are you
Today?
are you from there?
No,
Oh, okay.
not Chicago. I'm not CM Punk. I
Okay.
can't claim any affiliation other than I grew up cheering for teams from Chicago. My mom lived there for a little bit, but if anything, that's why I'm a Cubs fan, because she's a diehard Cubby.
Okay.
From her, so I'm a diehard Cubby. And then I started rooting for the Bears and the Bulls, and the only Chicago team that I have nothing to do with is the Blackhawks. I got family in Michigan, so I'm a Detroit
Red Wings. So have you watched this show before?
The Grandpa Dez show, or
yeah.
Peter's told me about every episode, so I kind of feel like I've watched it.
Okay. Well, if you haven't seen it, the reason I'm asking is because there's one key change in the set, and it was because I was having you on, and I knew you were a Chicago sports fan, so I wasn't sure if you were from Chicago. But yeah, I mean, I've had that in the background before. Recently, it's been moved, so I've got the WrestleMania chair is it's in the seat where the WrestleMania chair usually sits. So I moved the WrestleMania chair aside. The other time recently I had that on was when I had Cole Cabana on the show. I threw that on there because I knew he was a big Blues Brothers fan.
You can probably see it over my shoulder, but there's a sign that says reserved parking for Bears fans on the wall on the calendar. So,
well, and I can see is that a Bulls thing there?
Which
above on top of the calendar?
Oh, it's the Bears above the calendar, and then above that is a clock with Mega Man on it.
Oh, okay. And then you got some action figures behind you there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Got Master Chief from Halo. I've got this and that and
I'm
everything.
always just tinkering a little bit, like the I got that it's like a picture there with the cars. It's supposed to kind of look like a window, so it looks like there's cars outside the window.
Oh yeah,
Um yeah.
on your left side, or it would be
Yeah.
on the right, but it's on my left looking at you.
Yeah. And then I've got, the books back there from these three renowned Canadian authors, Chris Jericho, Bret Hart, and Paul Fontaine.
Ah,
Yeah. And then there's the Mick Foley book right there, my family. So I think I'm just about to get ready to change those banners behind me, though, the hockey ones. I don't know, they just kind of look like crap. But
I
yeah,
probably
so
change up my mantle more than you need to change up your banners, because I've had the Mega Man figures on the mantle forever and
it looks
can't.
good though. It looks. Do you do a lot of video? I know you do podcasts, but do you do a lot of video?
It's rare that you see my face on video, but
Okay.
yes, I do a lot of video, but it's usually me pointing the camera at something as opposed to the camera pointing at me. Me
Like
being
interviewing fighters and stuff.
your show is like the exception to the rule because we've known each other for years, so like people can see my double chin and I don't give a fuck. But normally I'm not like the most charismatic on camera.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'd say middle of the pack for what I've had on here. I've had some people I've had to drag stuff out of. I'll tell you this, and I don't think he'll watch this, so I don't feel bad about saying it. The least charismatic on-camera person I think I've had was Brian Alvarez. Now, I don't know what it is. I think he was just like he was getting ready for a trip, and I think his mind was just somewhere else, and he was just basically he was sitting there and he was answering my questions, but he wasn't really offering much. And it's like, and you know what the stupid thing is, I wasn't really prepared. Now, I don't generally prepare for these shows. So because I want to just let the conversation go. And just for whatever reason with Brian, I just couldn't think of anything to say. Part of the problem was we did the show live and I had comments. So people were commenting because it was Brian and he's going to get a lot more viewers than anybody else. And so I was trying to get the comments on the screen and it was throwing me off. So that was one of the last live shows I did. I think it's better to do them like this.
Yeah, I think the last time I had Brian on, and it's been quite a few years ago since I had him for a podcast interview, but sometimes it is kind of like pulling teeth with him. I think it's because he's so used to being the host that
Yes,
the role is reversed. He doesn't quite know how to be the guest and be interviewed.
and he also, I think, like he's pretty open on his shows about his life and everything, but I think he tells people what he wants to tell them, and he doesn't necessarily want you to drag something out of him that he's maybe not ready to talk about. Not that he's hiding anything, that's not what I mean, but just like
Certainly not. I think we know about Holiday's pooping schedule on a regular basis.
yeah, and how and she'll eat anything. I think, what did he say in the last one? She'd eat tree bark if you gave it to her. Yeah.
Anything that grows, she eats.
Yeah, but yeah, I what's funny is I've kind of like, this is my 49th show of this show, and you were one that I kind of had in mind I was going to ask, and then just for whatever reason I never got around to asking you. And then one day I was talking to Peter and I was like, oh yeah, geez, I should have you on the show. And then right after that it was like, oh man, I haven't had Steve on yet, so I got to ask him. So I'm glad you took the time.
Around the time that I asked you about that situation you had with CM Punk, and memory when I brought that up.
So have you ever had anything like that
where a wrestler's gotten hot at me for something?
Yeah.
A few times. I've been blocked by a few people, and sometimes I was probably being a little cantankerous and maybe trying to get their goat, and other times it was like, no, I was just being honest. I didn't like that match and I didn't think it was good, and they just take it personally and fly off the handle. You never know what kind of reaction you're going to get. Social media is very strange that way.
Well, I'm not blocked by Punk, so that's cool.
Yeah, he actually apologized to you.
He did, yeah. I don't follow him either. I think maybe I stopped following him when he said I didn't have a brain. But I it's funny, like Jeremy Feinstein, I don't know if you know him. he's part of the staff on Fight Game Media, and when that whole thing was over, he asked me. He said, "I gotta ask you, man, how did that end up with a handshake after how it started?" And I'm like, "Well, I've always been taught I can't remember how I worded it. I used honey instead of vinegar. Like, you know what I mean? Like I had nothing. Like, I didn't say anything wrong about Punk. Like, I didn't have any issue. I've loved the storyline that he had with MJF, and I think everything he's done in AEW has been great. I didn't understand the entrance, but that's not a Punk problem, and that's not an AEW problem. That's a me problem because I didn't know the history. Where I got upset was people telling me, you don't know anything about wrestling because you didn't know this entrance music from 17 years ago from ROH, and then so where I screwed up was I made the comment like, oh, just because I don't know the entrance music from an indie promotion that ran, or from a minor league promotion that ran 17 years ago, doesn't mean I don't know anything about wrestling. And then everyone, but
Yeah.
it was a minor league promotion.
But I understand why people might have had things about that, because I was a big Ring of Honor fan back in that day. I've got a full collection of DVDs from like 2002 to 2008 with Punk and Joe and Danielson and Christopher Daniels and all the greats at that time. So to me, they were the top wrestling promotion in the world at that time, even if they were minor league or not. They were on the best wrestling. So
but I'm not saying it to diminish Ring of Honor.
No, I know you weren't.
Yeah. And the other thing is
feelings about it.
Yeah, and I was a fan of Ring of Honor, and I did see the classic. I saw the Punk Joe matches. I saw, I think I saw the Second City Saints and the Briscoes. But the thing is, when I saw them, it was a couple of years later. It was on TV because they had ROH Classics up here in Canada. So I went back and I watched all the old classic ROH stuff. They didn't air the entrances because those music was licensed and they can't air it on TV. So unless you were there live or you ordered the DVDs, which probably now if they produce, I bet you if I go on Honor Club, I'm not seeing the entrances either because they didn't pay for that licensing.
I mean, what chances you're going to watch a classic ROH Brand Danielson match and you're going to hear the final count?
Okay, so that stuff I know. Yeah, the final countdown I saw. I know the final countdown. Like that stuff I know. I know the Punk, the Joe chant, like the champ is here, the champ's here. I know the Colt Cabana, the Copa Cabana. Reach for the sky, boy. Like there's great ROH entrance music. I swear to God, I thought CM Punk used Cult of Personality the whole time. So I think what happened was I started watching ROH. Like I watched it at the very beginning. I watched about 3 or 4 shows. I didn't really like it. It wasn't that the wrestling was great. I didn't like the production. Like it just looked cheap and whatever. And you had to buy the DVDs and it's just I didn't have a lot of disposable income at the time. So
there are some shows, those early shows that had some lighting and technical issues that you kind of had to learn to the wrestling's good, so I'll just go with it.
Exactly. And then by 2005, they were starting to get a lot of buzz. And Joe had that match with Kabashi at the Manhattan Center. And then there was that 6-man match with the Michinoku Pro guys that, won match of the year in the Wrestling Observer. So I'm starting to pay attention at that point. And then I was following it. I wasn't necessarily watching it, but I was definitely following it. And I knew all about the Summer of Punk stuff. And I heard about him signing with WWE. And I knew Punk from TNA. So when I would see him in TNA and then all of a sudden he's in Ring of Honor and he's like a world champion, but in TNA he's, like Raven's flunky. Like there's like a bit of a disconnect.
Player in Impact. They never used him the way he was in Ring of Honor.
There's a lot of that in that company. But, so I kind of knew he was a good talker. Like the odd time he would get promos and it's like, okay, so then, Ring of Honor is doing something with this guy. So I started paying attention. So when he won the title, I think at that point I was actually going out of my way to watch the shows. Like I would try to get a stream, I would, DVD, whatever. And so I saw that whole run, but he was using Cult of Personality at that time. So then, then he goes to WWE and then in 11, he brings back Cult of Personality. So to me, that was the old school part. So when he shows up on Revolution and this song's playing, I'm thinking, okay, this whole feud has been about going back to the past for Punk. What's this entrance? Like, is it an old song? Like, if it is, how did I not know it? Is it like some other reference? Maybe it's some movie, like that, I've never seen, or, whatever. Like, I don't know what it is. And then I fast forwarded through Excalibur's explanation. So that's on me, but yeah, whatever, it worked out. He got the thing. But I'd like to say we haven't seen him on TV ever since. So I think Tony's punishing him for being mean to me.
Well, he's filming
Yeah.
Heels right now. That's why he hasn't been on TV this week. He's filming the second season.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well, Tony, Tony, I've had some interactions with Tony, and he's always been really nice to me. So I'm just going to stick to my story.
Can I say this though? As much as I like Tony and I really do respect everything that he's built from the ground up and accomplished, I felt like his comments were completely out of pocket and unnecessary when Big Swole was released. I didn't see
Oh, yeah.
why he had to go there on social media and say we released her because she wasn't a good wrestler. Like, yeah, that was an, pardon me for saying so, but that was a no class thing to do.
Well, I have a theory. You remember what day that was, right?
I don't remember the exact day now.
Oh, it's an easy day to remember. It was New Year's Eve.
Oh.
And it was, I think he was like probably drunk.
Probably
like when he
a little bit.
Yeah, like he likes his White Claws. I mean, I don't know, but he apologized later, but I mean, he shouldn't be tweeting about that stuff. Like, whether or not that's how he felt, he should have realized how it was going to come, how it was going to sound. And then the fallout with Leo Rush, so he says the one thing, oh, I let her contract expire because her wrestling wasn't up to snuff. Well, then what's your excuse about Leo Rush? Because you can't say that about him.
Yeah, Leo is one of the top talents in professional wrestling today. So,
and he was getting a push until he made those comments.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, he's not around anymore, and Dante Martin's got a new best friend, and and then we're not renewing Leo Rush's contract, and whatever. I mean, he can make whatever personnel decision he wants to make. But
yeah, and I think we just have to assume he's fallible, like all people.
Yeah.
Are fallible.
Oh yeah, and he's working himself to the bone. Like, I mean, and now he's got ROH, and
he's going to be working twice as hard.
He's got to hire somebody for that. I mean, I hope he does. My idea was Samoa Joe and William Regal to run it, but I mean, Regal's busy now. Maybe Samoa Joe. I'd love him to bring Samoa Joe in and have him be a trainer, an authority figure, maybe even legit booker,
I mean, basically, you could do what they were doing for NXT before.
Exactly. Yeah. That was my exact idea, and there's the synergy there. But now that I like what Regal's doing now. I love the pairing with Danielson and Moxley. So there's a lot of guys out there.
Commentary as much as possible, because when he says things like, "Who is that demonic waif?" I am there for it. I want to call everybody sunshine and a waif and all the things that he would say.
When she wheels me over to the sunny window with toast dribbling out of my mouth, like, this is poetry. It's just beautiful.
And the way he says it too. It's not just what he says, it's how he says it.
Yeah. And then I just can't wait to see what he does next. And people were complaining about, or he apologized for his promo being too long. I said he should apologize for not being on the whole show.
Right.
Yeah, like, just put him on the commentary desk. Him and who was it that somebody suggested? And as soon as they said, him and Excalibur as a commentary team would just be phenomenal.
And the partay between them was so funny too. He's like, you I know, you in the mask, you've never done anything.
Yeah, that was awesome. But I mean, he quickly realized, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So let's talk some sports. Sure. Baseball's back. You're a baseball fan. How are the Cubs looking this year?
They're kind of being dismantled piece by piece. And I hate to say it, but I saw the writing on the wall a few years ago after they won the World Series. It's like, they had an ownership that was willing to spend to get them to that point. And I think that once they had achieved that goal, that was it. They were like, you know what? We don't need to prove it twice. We don't need to keep spending this kind of money. We're just going to let everybody go their separate ways.
Who's running the ship there now? I know it's like Theo's gone. So
yeah, I think it's I would have to look to be
okay, but he's not nobody special.
No.
Okay.
I'll
And
look
are they still owned by Wrigley?
no, I believe the Ricketts family is the
Okay.
owners, and
Okay.
gonna yeah, the principal owners are Thomas Ricketts, Laura Ricketts, Pete Ricketts,
Okay.
and yeah, the entire Ricketts family. GM is Carter Hawkins,
Okay.
manager David Ross. So
Hawkins is like an analytics guy, right? I think
yeah.
I recognize him.
But
And they let Chris.
for me, if I can, about all of this is that Pete Ricketts is, besides being in the ownership of the Cubs, is the governor of our state. So
Oh, really? Of
yeah,
Nebraska?
yeah, he is the governor here. So
Oh,
I
wow.
don't want to get mad about the way things are, whether it's politics here or the Cubs there. It's like, yeah, I got the same guy to blame.
Wow, that's what a coincidence. That's crazy. I had no idea. So and Chris Bryant, that was a big guy, right? And he's gone to was the Dodgers?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Good Lord, they're stacked. They got Bryant, they got Freeman. Like I was watching MLB Network today and they said like it's the best lineup. They have the best opening day lineup since, and then it was like question mark, and basically they're just like ever. Like their bench players are better than most team starters.
But
It's
the point is, if you build up those kind of expectations and you spend that kind of money, and then they have a mediocre season, boy, you're gonna get it. You
well,
know
even if they win 100 games and make the NL championship and don't make the World Series, it's a disappointment.
exactly. You build
Yeah,
it that much, you've got to achieve. It's
yeah,
the whole Tom Brady thing. If he doesn't win a
yeah.
Super Bowl, then he's not Tom Brady. That's what people expect.
I'm super high on the Jays this year. They're just stacked. We were just before I recorded this, we had like a pre-baseball draft. So we were just picking the order and talking about the rules and stuff because I'm in a fantasy league with Promise Thomas.
Oh,
And a few other friends of his and friends of mine and we they were talking we were bringing up the Jays and like they got 6 starters that would be starters on any team. They've got a closer in Jordan Romano, who is, he's got like his fastball's got like serious movement. He's got like a, 92 mile an hour curveball. Like he's just insane. And Canadian kid too. And then their lineup is just stacked. Like the only position they didn't have like a, top 5 position player in the league in was third base. And then they just went out and picked up Matt Chapman. So I am just super high for them this year, but they're in like the toughest division in baseball with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Devil Rays, or the Rays, I guess they're called now. But so I don't know what I'm gonna do because I watch every single Jays game and I'm watching so much damn wrestling right now that I'm gonna have to cut something out.
yeah, that gets to be a problem for me this time of year too, because you've
Yeah.
got March Madness, NHL, Major League Baseball, and professional wrestling, and then mixed martial arts on top of that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
literally can't watch everything.
Well, I'm basically watching UFC because I do a UFC podcast. I'll catch Bellator if I remember that it's on. And then, but that's it. Like I'm not watching anything else. I'll watch PFL because I really, really enjoy PFL. I love their
Yeah,
presentation.
I'll go out of my way to watch PFL, but
Yeah.
not usually if it's not her.
But what I do is I tape it and then I fast forward through, everything in between because the broadcasts are super long and it's under the radar enough that I can let it sit on my PVR for like 2 days and I won't have a result spoiled.
Yeah.
What are you watching for pro wrestling these days?
AEW is the number one focus because I'm covering them for CageSideSeats.com. So
Paying gig? Is that a paying gig?
yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So that's my bread and butter, quite literally. So
really, so is that like seriously? That's your official like job that pays the rent kind of thing?
sports reporter, CageSideSeats.com, and
Cool. Wow.
given me is to cover AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation. So
Wow. You know what? The number of people who can make a living writing on the internet about professional wrestling or MMA is probably like less than 20. Like literally. So I mean, that's a good gig. Like way to go, man.
if I was in a different position, I wouldn't call it a living because
Okay.
I'm at a comfortable point in my life where I own my home and I own my car, so
Okay.
I don't need a lot of extra income. But for me, the amount they're paying me, it makes it more than worth it to do.
Okay.
Especially since it's a program I enjoy watching. It's not like, oh
Yeah.
God, I
Yeah.
gotta watch AEW. Oh, yeah. No, it's never like that. It's always fun
Well,
to
some
watch.
of those dark shows are a little tedious.
I mean, they can be hit or miss, but
Yeah.
generally more hit because the cool thing when you watch the dark shows is they're trying people. They're
Yes.
who they want to add to the roster. So you get to see the guys like the premier athlete Tony Nese, and you get
Yeah.
to see them work out whether or not they would be a fit on the AEW roster. Like before Bobby Fish was officially in AEW, he was on the dark shows. It's
True. Yep.
you get them into the program, and it's fun to see those guys come in. And it's also good to see the people who they're not ready to push on Rampage or on Dynamite. They get their stuff in. Like Jade Cargill was doing
Yeah.
squash matches on Dark before she became the TBS champion. That was how they built her up.
What I like is some of the people that they get on there that aren't signed, and you kind of see who they're interested in, because you'll see like there's the standard 30-second squash, 2-minute squash, whatever, and then you see some of these people that are getting offense in, and you're like, okay, they must be interested in that one. And then like I remember seeing Nick Camarado doing squash matches. Will Hobbs, and like he lost in, was it like 30 seconds to Darby Allin, but you kind of looked at him and okay, they like this dude. And then you see him the next week and he's in a match on Dark, and he it's like 5 minutes and he's going toe to toe before he loses, and it's like, okay, they must be interested in him. I saw a guy recently.
Women they bring in too. If they're
Yep.
doing the 3-second jobs, that's just a one night stand. But if they bring them back 2 or 3 times and the matches get longer each time, then you're like,
Yes.
oh, they see
So
something.
I got 3 people I want to ask.
They saw it right away. They were like, oh, she's likable. She's got charisma. She's going to be a star for us.
So I got 3 people I want to ask you about. And I want to know, first of all, if you remember them and what you think of them, and if you think that AEW might be interested in them, because they're people that I talk about a lot. And given that you watch Dark and Elevation and you cover it, you might know these people. So the first one is a woman named she wrestled on AEW by the name of Freya Slates, but her gimmick on the indies is Freya the Slayer. Do you remember her? It was not that long ago she wrestled.
The name rings a bell.
So she kind of looks facially like China. She's really, really big. Like she's big, like not fat, big. And
my comment when I saw her was like,
yeah,
she's big. She's not fat big, but she's like big, thick, muscular big.
Yes, yeah. And for her, like they gave her a little offense. She was in like a 6-person match, and then I think I saw her again in a singles, and she got more offense than most people usually do. She's the OVW Women's Champion right now. So I watch OVW on a regular basis as well, so I see a lot of her, and so it was very interesting to see her on this show. Another one was a woman, and she's been in NWA as well. She's in OVW, and she's been on Dark a few times. Haley J, which I'm assuming she's related. Stevie J, Haley J. No,
I wish. I would.
do you remember her?
Yes, I do. I remember her as well.
She is now. She wouldn't have got a chance to show this on Dark. She's extremely charismatic. Like her gimmick is, and you're an MMA fan, so you would recognize this. Her gimmick is like Rose Namajunas. So but not the current Rose Namajunas, the Rose Namajunas that was on like Tough Enough, or The Ultimate Fighter. I always call it Tough Enough. So she's like from the streets, except she thinks she's like a Hollywood star. So that's her gimmick, Hollywood Haley J. And she talks with that kind of, like ghetto accent, like kind of like Eminem, like that sort of thing. And I don't know, I find her really interesting. And I saw her against, I think it was Ruby Soho, and Ruby gave her a lot. So I kind of thought,
Ruby is very giving in her dark matches with people. They usually get at least a good minute or 2 of offense before she lands to no future. If a match goes short with Ruby, then you know that they didn't see anything in the girl. So
okay. Now the third one is somebody that I actually just recently interviewed. I don't know if you saw, I tweeted about it. This guy by the name of Ben Bishop. Gimmick is Big Trouble Ben Bishop. You see, you're nodding. This guy is, he says he's 6'12".
yeah, he looks like Kevin Nash.
Yeah, a little Von Wagner. You know, a little bit.
Little Nash.
Yeah.
But every time I see him, I think Big Sexy. The moment I see him in the ring.
When I interviewed him, that's his inspiration. Like that's exactly what he's going for. Is Diesel? You know, Kevin Nash. He's a little older. I think he's 29 or 30. Former basketball player, like Kevin Nash, but he's got like no miles on his body. Like he had some knee injuries when he was playing basketball, but that's like 8 years ago. He said he's never been healthier. And he's just been wrestling, you know, more and more in the last 2 years. So I think that's a guy that they should look at.
Don't sign him. They're missing the boat. There's
a
couple of guys like him that I've seen repeatedly on the dark shows, and Ben Bishop is one that struck me that like they need to sign him. And there's a guy who's almost his size and Samoan that I think the same thing every time.
Kona, or no, what's his name?
Yeah, the name is not coming to the top of my head.
Starts with a K. It starts with a K.
Like Kona, but every time I see him, I think the same thing. I'm like, this guy can't miss. How can they not sign him? Or
even Tiger Huas.
Oh, yeah. The match he had with Kazarian this week.
Yeah, that was great.
Match.
Yeah. I watched Elevation this week, and I just watched the first 3 matches of Dark. When I saw Tony Schiavone say that Josh Woods was a part of Tony Khan, I was done. He said, "What does it feel to be a part of Tony Khan?" And what did I rewind? Did I hear it right? Yeah, no, that's what he said. The show is taped.
I think they're a little flustered to be doing an interview. I feel like somebody told Schiavone, go out there and interview Josh Woods, and he wasn't prepared, and Josh Woods wasn't prepared to be interviewed.
Yeah.
He said the same line twice. He was like, it's an honor and a privilege, and it's such an honor, or whatever it was he said. He knew he didn't have something ready for that.
But get the word honor out there, because I'm here to plug Ring of Honor. I assume if he's not signed, he's going to be, because they don't give him a 30-second squash if they're not signing him.
The fact they mentioned he was the pure champion, because the last time they had him on Dark, they didn't even mention that he was in Ring of Honor, let alone the pure champion. So
Tony hadn't announced that he bought Ring of Honor yet at that point. Yeah. So you know what? That's going to just about do it. I feel like we just got started. So I definitely want to have you on again. And hopefully I'll see you in a couple weeks. If it is, it'll be on the Wednesday, so it'll be the 30th. So you might be watching Dynamite. Maybe that might be a problem. Maybe I'm gonna need somewhere to watch Dynamite. Maybe I'll go to your house.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. You know, Michelle and I'd love to see you.
All right, yeah, I'd love to see Michelle again. I haven't seen her in, gosh, what's it been since you guys? 8 years since you've been to Vegas?
Yeah, probably been at least 8 years.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was the year my dad died. So, yeah, 2014. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Was that the weekend? That had to be the same weekend where I ended up covering the tough. They had the 3 UFC shows back to back, and I ended up covering the one on Sunday because Dave had to leave.
Yes, that was so. The first there was it the Alvarez Dos Anjos title fight? That was one of them. That was on the Friday. The Thursday was like the tough finale or something, or is it? No, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the Friday was the title fight, and that was in like an or Fox show, and then Saturday was the pay-per-view, and then Sunday they had
BJ Penn.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah,
where Penn got absolutely massacred, and it was really sad trying to ask him questions afterwards at post-fight presser. It was like, oh man, you say you got destroyed out there.
Yeah, that's never fun. I remember doing that with Robbie. No, was it Robbie? No, it was Robbie against Dos Anjos in Winnipeg. And he was rough with the leg kicks. He could barely move, but he was gracious with his time, and it was really good. So yeah, so that's gonna wrap it up. So I want to thank you again for coming on, and for Steve, I've been Grandpa Dez, and this has been Cup of Joe with Grandpa Dez.